Hey there, it's Jason with Heap of Jeep. Welcome to video number 2 in the Fixing the Fender series. On the last video you saw we got everything off, ready to go. Fender flare came off and we popped the dent out and used a pry bar for that from behind it. So I'll put a link up here in the corner if you want to check that video out. Today we're going to keep going, and we've got the dent out, so now it's time to smooth it out. So body filler time, we're using Bondo, and then primer, lots of wet sanding, and then we'll base coat it with some rattle can black. We're using Rust-Oleum flat black something enamel. I'll show you when we get there, but let's get to it. So there she is, all sanded down. I found the best thing to use was the angle grinder with this, I don't know what it's called, a flap disc or something, but it's got the it's got little layers of sandpaper in there basically, and that tore it right off of there. Now I am not a Bondo expert. I use it a little bit when I'm airbrushing guitars and I need to do some fill work, but actual body work on a vehicle, never done it before. So I'm just going by some natural instinct and a little bit of what I saw online. I'm using the same stuff I use when I paint, the naphtha as a wax and grease remover. You can use anything that's designed for it. Some people use paint thinner. Actual wax and grease remover is good. Rust-Oleum makes a wax and tar remover, which would probably be about the same. Time for round 2. Alright, so it might not be easy to see on the camera, but it looks like I finally got this area built up to where it's even, and this area here. We'll do another coat and sand that one down and see if we can get it looking good here. Alright, so that's about 5 applications of body filler, Bondo. You can see where the color's different, where I didn't quite mix it exactly the same, and that's why it has sort of that marbling effect, because the layers sort of are blending into one another. But you know, there's one, I just felt it, there's one little high spot. There's one there. but they're real minor, and it is a Jeep, and I'm not real worried about it. So I'm going to tape this up and throw a coat of primer down on here. Okay, so time to wet sand. I'm just using some 400 wet and dry, and you're going to want a sanding block. Now they do sell, you can go to like an auto parts store, paint supply store, and get an actual heavy rubber flat sanding block. I use these are old foam blocks. My kids, you can see their teeth marks on them, but they have tons of these lying around, and it's nice and firm, and you can wrap some sandpaper around it. I've used them forever when painting guitars, and this is a little bigger than a guitar, but I think the principle should be the same. So done with the wet sanding. What I'm using for this layer is filler primer. It's designed to build up more than regular primer, so that any little imperfections, and I've still got a few, but they'll fill up faster, so you have to do less wet sanding. So I think just one more coat of this stuff and I'll sand down. You can see where I got down to some of the metal in some areas. And that's what you want to do. You want to sand as much off as you can to try and get rid of those imperfections, and then just keep building the primer up. So I'm going to do another layer of this. We'll wet sand it again, and I think at that point I should be able to just use the regular primer for the final coat before we paint it. Never skimp out on the foundation work, because once the paint goes on, there's no going back. And if you've got dents or divots or dings or some low spots or something, they're not going to come out when you paint it. So there we go. That's 3 coats of the high filler stuff for me. Now I'm going to go with the self-etching primer as the final coat, and then over top of this we'll put the black paint. Alright, so the paint I'm using is just a flat black, flat protective enamel. I don't think it really matters what you're using. Eventually I will airbrush this Jeep and top coat it, and then the flat black will be pointless because it'll be nice and shiny after that. But for now, that's what we're going with. Alright, time to put it all back together. Now I'll go over this part with the fender flares in another video when I actually do the painting of the fender flares, but just real quick, all you do is grind down, when they snap off, you grind down the back of it, and then you just find some bolts that'll fit in. Now you can weld it to there, but I think there's enough room to, you know, that's a screw there, but there's enough room to get one of those angled screwdrivers up there and just hold it while you tighten the nut. Okay, so there's the new bolt right there, and you just slide it through, and then I'm taking a washer and a nut because the bolts are so small. A washer on there as well. Alright, so there we go. One freshly repaired fender. Hope this video helped you out. And coming up, we're going to be painting the fender flares, putting a bed liner on them. And when I get to that one, you know, I'll show you all the prep work. It's plastic, so it's a little different. And then I'll show you in a little more detail how I went about fixing the brackets on the inside. So yeah, thanks. Please give it a thumbs up if it helped you out, and please subscribe, because we got more videos on the way.